So are you finding yourself stuck in patterns, repeat patterns that you can't quite seem how to break free from? And you're an empath. If so, I'm going to invite you to consider the empath's paradox, because once you understand this, it will help you to unlock essentially your ability to consciously co-create with the universe and manifest that which you are seeking to bring into your life that is in alignment with your heart and soul. Okay, so here's the greatest challenge. It's a result of this paradox, which is the fact that, and I say fact because I've worked with hundreds, if not thousands, of empaths. I myself am one, and have come to this realization, and it has become very clear to me what's happening now. So, and this may or may not be true for you, but I'm going to explain that essentially empaths, first of all, we all come into the world with a unique energetic imprint. And empaths' unique energetic imprint is such that our heart center, our throat center, and our third eye center are the frequency are more attuned than I'd say the majority of the population. Everyone is attuned to that, and we all repress it to a large extent. I think that empaths actually have that unique imprint signature upon coming into the world. Okay, so we come into the world, however, and of course, as we all are, this world is driven by ego, by karma, by unconscious or subconscious behavioral patterns, which is the human experience in this 3D, third dimensional experience of reality. And when this occurs, because we're so open in those energy centers, the experiences that we have, to make sense of them, and then we create coping mechanisms around them, begins to actually, we begin to build walls around our heart. So we are very compassionate, we are very sensitive, we are very intuitive, and we can literally feel others' emotions. Sometimes without even knowing it, subconsciously, we can pick up on their subconscious challenges, experiences, thoughts, content, without even realizing it. We are deeply compassionate naturally, and we're deeply intuitive naturally. And oftentimes we can attune to more ethereal. The fact is, we are multidimensional beings, and we tend to attune to, without even realizing it potentially, the ethereal world. It makes sense to us. So we have wisdom, inherent wisdom. Okay. And by the way, the whole world does. We just tend to be more sensitive to it for whatever reason as empaths. That's all. And we come into the world, and like I was saying, we're met with what is true for this reality and ourselves. And we begin to actually, these abilities, so to speak, proclivities, sensitivities, we begin to build walls around them. So we begin to build walls around our hearts. We begin to build this deepen or thicken the veil of our third eye, intuition and knowing. And we begin to kind of shut down with respect to our insights, and our throat energy center. We could say throat chakra. These experiences then lead to, because this is what's happening, we then develop this shadow aspect of empathy, whereby it may be a result of our early life dynamics, but whereby we feel that we need to save others. We completely lose the fact that we are individual beings, essentially. And because we attune so deeply to others' emotions, and we empathize with their experience so deeply, that we begin to lose our sense of self. And as we're in our formative years, as we are going through the developmental stages of attachment and attunement, and the development of the self, and then the understanding of ourselves relative to the world and how relationship dynamics work, we may experience attachment traumas that we haven't yet learned how to heal and integrate. We may have also had the absence of guidance and attunement in certain areas, and then haven't yet built upon those structures. So if the world and those who were raising us and society at the time, we were in our formative years, they weren't reflecting back to us what we know to be true in our hearts, and our sense of self wasn't fully developed. In other words, we ourselves don't necessarily know ourselves sometimes. And then we just fall into doing things for other people, really. It's difficult to may have boundaries, because to us that seems as though that's actually creating distance between ourselves and others. And what we want more than anything is connection and belonging, because we feel, we sense, we know that we are all one. And so, in other words, we start to create these coping mechanisms, so to speak, that then bring us to a place of the opposite of our true nature. And this is where the shadow aspects begin to take over, which is Carl Jung spoke often about the savior archetype, and he referenced it as the wounded warrior archetype. And he also mentions or discusses or has done research, brought forth the concept of the archetype, recognized this to be true as an archetype, is the midwife archetype, is what he called it. And we often find that we feel responsible for healing others. And with that, we can completely lose and forget about and misunderstand what we need. So we do that to a detriment of ourselves. And this creates an imbalance of give and take. And we oftentimes find ourselves in the healing industry, whether we're nurses or otherwise, and we often experience burnout. That's one form of this shadow aspect dominating. And instead, when we work through healing, which I'll describe what that looks like, we come to a place of the midwife archetype, which is essentially being able to guide others in their healing without any projection of our own areas of our own woundedness, let's say. And so the way that we do this is it's through the process of, let's say, shadow integration. It's coming into healing and understanding and loving each part of ourselves, and reintegrating, reblending these parts, as well as starting to cultivating deep self-love. It was true for me that through all of the experiences of early life, I built so many walls around my heart that I eventually became the avoidant attachment type person in relationships. You would think we would be more of the anxious attachment, but after years and years of feeling others, emotions and that sort of thing, and being hurt, because we are sensitive, being hurt without resolution, we start distancing ourselves from others, when in fact the very thing we want is closeness. And so then we can also take on, as I was saying, this savior complex, and we can then project what we haven't yet worked through healing onto others, or the experience of victimization onto others. So these are very important things to consider, because it leads to imbalances within us. And once the healing process is really to return to self-love, reclaim the true self, and to heal on all three dimensions of our being. So we are multidimensional beings, and there are three aspects of ourselves that specifically require our healing and love and attention. And in doing that on all three levels, we can begin to embrace the midwife archetype. We can begin to actually create what it is that resonates with our highest truth. We can actually begin to return to feeling safe, connecting with others deeply, and experiencing true intimacy. And we can love ourselves. So that's when everything begins to change. And so I invite you to, if this resonates with you, among the other videos that I'm starting to produce, I invite you to my Empaths Path to Mastery community, where you'll receive all the guidance you need in rapid transformation and healing. And I'm Lisa, and I'm a holistic psychotherapist, and I work with empaths with deep healing intensives, and I offer courses, group coaching programs, that are very feasible, and they guide you into a space where you can become your own healer. And transformation doesn't have to take forever. It's using the right tools, the right modalities for the right things at the right time in order to experience significant life changes and resolving those repeat patterns that keep coming up for you. All right, thanks. Bye.